Hello, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. We're starting off with one of the headlines that affects a lot of people, even if you're not a student or actively have a student. Your kids might be about to go to college, in college, or paying off on their student loans right now. If not, some of you are already in the grandkids phase, and they're about to go to college, or maybe in college, or maybe paying on their student loans. But this is a wide-ranging topic because it also just speaks to the larger air of accountability. And it's a good economic topic that some of these issues with student loans reverberate across other industries as well. And there's a lot of good lessons and really painful lessons that we should learn from this. The way you get something to be cheaper is not by throwing money at it, not by throwing taxpayer money at it, not by subsidizing it. You subsidize something, it gets more expensive. Can we all learn this lesson now? But let's focus on this story at hand, and we'll worry about extrapolating it out later. Because first, I love this topic. Student debt collectors resume today. It's been paused since COVID, and it keeps getting extended. And then the Biden administration said, okay, even though it expired and past what Congress said it was going to be delayed for, we're just not going to enforce it anyway. We're just going to choose to not enforce that law. And so, what manner of lawlessness is this where you can just pick and choose what laws you enforce? Okay, so it was another one of those situations, and it finally starts back on today. And I love talking about this because in America in 2025, is there a group of people you feel sorry for less than people who owe on their student loans? I'm having a hard time with it. Like professional athletes, maybe. That might be the only group I feel. Pop stars. People who inherit millions of dollars. I mean, you are the elite on planet Earth in the most prosperous country in all of human civilization right now in 2025. If you have gone to some college in America, you are probably living a pretty sweet life. Now, if you are not living a sweet life and that didn't work out for you, not my problem. That's not your problem either, is it? That's the college's problem. That's the student's problem. Did the college not give you the skills you needed to pay that loan back? Did you not buckle down and study and complete that course? Did you choose a brain-dead, worthless major that wasn't ever going to make money anyway and get in a whole bunch of debt pursuing it? Because we have millions of student loan borrowers out there. 42.7 million borrowers are out there right now. Little more than 5 million of them are delinquent. That means over 360 days, over a year. I don't know why 360 days. Why not 365 days, government? Weirdos. But then we have another 4 million borrowers who are in late stage delinquency, 90 to 180 days. And so if we follow the rules as they are borne out, we could have in just a few months 10 million borrowers in default, which that doesn't mean nothing. It's not just your credit score getting kicked. You could have the withholding of your federal benefits, such as tax returns or in some cases Social Security checks. What do you mean? Some people are going to be paying on student loans until Social Security? No, but some people co-sign for student loans for their kids or grandkids and they're getting Social Security. There's some people who are getting Social Security from a disability check or from a surviving spouse or something like that. So it's out there. I know it doesn't seem likely, but there is some overlap with that. And this is going to, put a crunch on people who are getting the coast for over 5 years now. It got paused back when COVID started, and we're just now starting that back up. But I don't want to just beat up people who owe money on student loans. I'm sorry you do. That's got to be tough. I took out student loans. It took me 10, 15 years to pay them off. Got it. A lot of us have been there. Your turn. You don't like it? You took out the debt. You were an adult. You got to vote. So let's talk about some of the numbers here. And then I want to ask you the larger question. What would you do about the student loan debt issue? Let's go over the beginning here. This was this morning on Fox Business. They were about to talk to Linda McMahon, the education secretary, on the morning show here, the morning shift after Fox and Friends. Fox Business.
And today, 42.7 million borrowers owe more than $1.6 trillion. That's trillion with a T in student debt. And more than 5 million of them have not made a single payment since last year.
Yikes.
A lot of people. Education Secretary Linda McMahon writing this in the Wall Street Journal. Accountability returns to student loans, adding that, quote, colleges and universities call themselves nonprofits, but for years they have profited massively off the federal subsidy of loans, hiking tuition and piling up multi-billion-dollar endowments while students graduate 6 figures in the red. A widely cited 2015 study found that for every dollar of increased federal caps on subsidized loans, colleges raised tuition by 60 cents.
Oh, my God. And so then they talked to Linda McMahon right after that opening statement. Here she is explaining the new regime.
Well, the plan is very simple. We have announced that beginning May 5th,
Today.
you must start to repay your loan. And this is not to in any way try to cause hardships. There are several different payment plans that you can access. If you go to studentaid.gov, there are several plans there that can help you. We also are keeping hours open longer at the service centers and also having them open on the weekend to answer any questions. And there will also be AI help with Aiden, who can answer many questions for you relative to your loan. So we're trying to, to make it easily accessible for responsible folks to pay back their loans, but they need to get on it because there isn't going to be any loan forgiveness program. As you know, the White House press secretary said this afternoon, there's no such thing as loan forgiveness. It just gets transferred to someone else, and that's just not fair.
Amen. All right, so here's my solution, and I want to hear your solution. It's a 3-part solution. Number 1, end all government aid to universities. Again, with an economic underlying principle, if you subsidize something, you just raise the cost of it. So don't subsidize the universities themselves, and don't subsidize the students themselves. So end all government financial aid. There could still be private sector financial aid. You can still come up with a scholarship fund for, I don't know, your cheerleader group or whatever. And then the third step, and this isn't a brain buster either, make everyone pay back their existing loans. That's my 3-part plan. What's yours? Coming up next, I'll talk to Adam Kissel from the Heritage Foundation. He handles their education policy. And what does he think would solve the student loan problem? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. We're talking about the student loan repayments resume. I mean, you could have been making payments this whole time, but now you're forced. The whole little pause where you got a break and there wasn't going to be any penalties from COVID. It kept getting extended. Here we are 5 years later, and they're just now starting today. Student loan repayments resume. We're expecting about 5 million, maybe up to 10 million people will be in default pretty soon as this paperwork goes through. And I have Adam Kissel from Heritage Foundation joining us to talk about education policy because, you know, it doesn't seem to be in hindsight any accident that we got here, Adam. I want to start off with you by playing you a clip from Obama. If we go all the way back to Obama's first term, this was something he addressed. He nationalized the student loan industry in the Obamacare bill, strangely enough. But this is what he said then.
The average student who borrows to pay for college now graduates with about $25,000 in student loan debt. That's the average. Some are more. Can I get an amen for that? Yeah, I know, because some folks have more debt than that.
Amen. All right, now it's to 37,000. So clearly his plan didn't work. Adam Kissel, Heritage Foundation, what do we do about this?
Well, we have $1.6 trillion of student debt right now, representing 42.7 million borrowers in the United States. And that's not just students and alumni, that's students who didn't graduate and now have debt. That's parents and grandparents who paid a lot of money for their students who may or maybe didn't finish. So the problem is humongous, and the solutions have to be kind of a tough love set of solutions. So that means having market forces rather than government largesse, plus accountability and some risk sharing by the universities. So if we can make sure that the students and alumni are paying off their debts, paying what they owe, what they agreed to owe, but also making sure that the universities are responsible for the morals of being the kind of person who pays back your loan, as well as the finances, then I think we'd be able to turn the tide.
So I like your idea of college accountability because that wasn't on my list, but I've said consistently on the James Show that if you're upset that you can't pay back your student loan, your gripe shouldn't be with the taxpayers. It should be with your college. Well, colleges love the tuition and they're addicted to it. So they need tough love too. They are more than happy to take your tuition, knowing that a large proportion of the students are not going to graduate. We have colleges in this country that are accredited that get public money and get appropriators money with less than a 10% graduation rate. The idea used to be look to the right, look to the left. One of the three of you is not going to graduate. Well, now look to the right, left, and look at yourself. All three of you are likely to not graduate. But we want your tuition money anyway. So the colleges have to have skin in the game. They have to share the risk. So how do you make them share the risk? Well, Congress has to make them do that, and there's a couple of ways to do that. So you can look at the College Cost Reduction Act that's been in Congress, and then you can look at the Reconciliation Bill, which is the budget bill that's in front of the House of Representatives right now, and Senate's working on their own version. Both of these say that if your students, as they graduate a few years out, are not making enough money compared to, say, a high school diploma holder or the median that should go with that particular degree program, then you're going to have to pay some money back to the government. Or if your students are defaulting on their student loans, wasting the government's money, not paying it back, the college may also have to pay back some of that money itself. So those are the two main ways. I like the sound of that. I like also, if we have just proven that subsidizing college doesn't work and Pell Grants don't make it cheaper or easier, can we just start by repealing all the programs that have already failed us? Well, that would be where my heart is. So I think public colleges should generally be on a path, long-term or short-term, to privatization, and that the government programs that subsidize them, they've done a great job on access over the last 100 years. But the cost of access is all of these people who don't graduate, they have debt but no degree, they're working at Starbucks, whereas their friends with a high school diploma are becoming electricians and making 3 times as much money, 5 times as much money. So it's, again, a tough love solution or set of solutions
But if we want people to have better lives, we can't keep pretending that everybody needs to go to college.
All right. Well, Adam Kissel, Heritage Foundation, you sound like a pretty limited government guy like myself. How much did we really accomplish with getting rid of the Department of Education?
There have been some really good steps so far, but Congress controls whether it exists, controls which programs exist, how much money exists. So there's only so much you can do in the executive branch. And so I think we should also look at what's happening in Texas, where Senate Bill 37 is looking at higher ed reform at the state level and doing what some of the other states have started to do, like Florida and Ohio. So even if there's not good news yet for dismantling the department at the federal level, there's a lot that Texas legislators are looking at and working on, including this bill, which has some good policies in it.
So you guys at the Heritage Foundation, Adam Kissel, y'all wrote Project 2025. What does that say about education? Do we know off the top of our head?
It's a great chapter. I didn't write any of it, but I agree with probably everything in it. And it says eliminate the education department, dismantle it.
Yay.
It says, right? It says cut off the funding for lots of programs that we don't even know if they work. Send as much money as possible that among what's left to the states. That's state and local is where the action is supposed to be. Fix civil rights problems. All discrimination is bad, whether it helps or hurts the people you like or don't like. Don't have discrimination on the basis of race or sex. Have due process for students who get in trouble. So there's a lot of good stuff in there. And then at the K-12 level, like that all is an authority that deserves to be at the federal, away from the federal and back to the state and local levels. So K-12 reform, again, everything points to ending the education department, returning the money and the projects back to the states.
Well, Adam Kissel, it sounds like a good day for those of us who want these, college solutions. I hope it continues.
I think we're on a good track. Education is the name of the game these days. Higher ed is having its moment for a bunch of different reasons, and people are paying attention to all the things that are broken in education and saying, where's all our money going? And if it's going for this stuff, like these terrible courses that supposedly count for the core in the Ivy League, which I have a book about that's coming out tomorrow, why are we wasting all this money and subsidizing to the tune of billions of dollars these bad colleges and classes that are supposed to be so good?
Adam Kissel, Heritage Foundation. I didn't know you had a book coming out tomorrow that's not in my notes. Please enlighten me.
It's called Slacking, A Guide to Ivy League Miseducation. It looks at the core curriculum, general education requirements across the Ivy League. It shows that the courses that are available to you are almost all terrible in the humanities and social sciences.
Yeah, okay, I believe that.
You can watch Disney movies at Cornell to learn about animals, and that meets your science requirement. At Princeton, you can take a course on shoes and meets your social studies requirement. Things like that. You could take intersectional disability studies and meet your social sciences requirement. I forget which university.
Don't even care.
So we go through, and so it's not Shakespeare, it's not Western Civ, it's not U.S. history. You can fulfill your requirements with any one of hundreds of what they call ways of knowing or distribution requirement courses, rather than getting the best that has been taught and said in the world, as Matthew Arnold used to say.
Right. $1.6 trillion in debt for this, and none of these people can speak Latin or anything. So, all right, Adam Kissel, Heritage Foundation, thank you very much.
Thank you, too.
All right. That sounds like a book I might like, too. 800-288-9227. I want to hear your solutions. How would you solve the student loan problem? What advice would you have if you had the ears of the people in power? 800-288-9227. We'll continue talking about solutions next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, student loan repayments resume. What's your solution to the student loan problem? We're up to $1.7 trillion in student loan debt. Clearly, what we've been doing is not working. What would you do? Well, I've been laying out some of the basics here because if we want to start somewhere, how about we repeal all the programs that haven't worked already? Because when we look at, we talked about the cost of college skyrocketing. Since when? Well, since about the creation of the Department of Education. They rarely put it like that, but they say, I even have the numbers in front of me. Even if you adjusted for inflation, if you went to college the year I was born, 77, $2,600. It was really like $600, but with inflation, that would be $2,607 now. And in inflation adjusted dollars, that's all the way up to, if you take the average cost, even when you count the little community colleges out there, $11,260. So the cost of college has gone up, what, 400 something percent? So what we're doing now, and that's adjusted for inflation. So with all the Pell Grants, with all the subsidized student loans, with nationalizing the student loan industry, with all the other things that we thought were helping, I say we start by getting rid of all these programs that were there when it got worse, in all government financial aid. And going forward, make everyone pay back their student loans. Well, this is going to crush some people. Yes. And they will whine very loudly. And then other people going into the humanities will choose a different major. Because so much of this seems to be just a wasted, misplaced use of resources. 48% of college grads with a humanitarian or arts degree said they would have studied something different. And if you're thinking, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people say that. Well, only 24% of engineering degree holders said that. 34% of college grads could have been hired in their current jobs without even getting a degree. Only 27.3%, according to the Small Business Blog. Only 27.3% of college graduates actually work in the field of their degree. $1.6 trillion in debt for that? What's your solution? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. This is Brett in New Mexico. You're on WBAP. How would you fix this, Brett?
Hey, James. Well, I am one that defaulted after the amount I borrowed was doubled with the interest. And like your guest was saying, I think it does need to go directly back towards the university themselves, the responsibilities. Just like if you file the bankruptcy, Home Depot, they don't come back and collect the stuff that you got. They have to eat that loss, and it's not their fault. Or if Chevrolet sells you a car that's a lemon, Chevrolet has to eat the cost.
You know what, Brett? That's a great simile. It's like buying a lemon, a car that you thought was going to be, getting you from point A to point B, and not right off the lot, it stinks. That's, you know what? 3 points for Brett, Garrett. Put him on the scoreboard. All right, Garrett, you scored. Keep going, sir.
Because there is like you said, once the loans came along, once FAFSA came along, there's a great pyramid scheme with them forcing you into requirements that have nothing to do with your major. If you look at the European model of college, they go to school for 2 years in exactly what they're wanting to come out with a degree in, versus having to take history and biology and Spanish to become a graphic designer.
Well, you're starting to lose me there, Brett. Wanting to copy Europe usually doesn't work out too well for us.
Yeah. But I personally, I had 20 hours over what the requirement for a graduate degree was, but I did not have a Spanish 4 and a algebra or some higher math that had nothing to do with graphic design. So I had a professor who went to fight to the dean that they ought to have a degree. I should have been long gone. I spent 7 years in college. I went to a community college. I worked the full time. I worked 40 hours my entire 7 years.
Brett, does your job right now require that college degree?
It does not. It has nothing to do with that degree.
And you went into default for all that. All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it, Brett.
Yep.
Thank you. Cleo, Plano, you're on the James Show. What's your solution for the student loan crisis?
Okay, well, a lot of student loan debt now that is coming up, even though it's a lot smaller, is from the community colleges. years ago, you used to be able to take, welding, drafting, HVAC, getting your car stuff, auto mechanics. But now they push that to the community colleges. And they do have loans at community colleges. I say bring that back to the high schools, because what they don't realize is a lot of these students, instead of having the alternative track, you have like distinguished STEM track, and you have the other tracks where they don't even require, like in Plano, that you even need to take a foreign language anymore. And it's basically what they consider the dumbed down track, just so they can keep, state funds and get you out of there. But put those tracks back in the back in the high schools. And then you can have these students that can have an alternative track. So when they're 18 and they graduate, they don't have to pay the extra money at community college.
Cleo, that sounds great, but we have kids that are graduating high school that can't read. I don't think they'll master a blowtorch. I get what you're saying. That's how it should be. But, yeah, you know what? I think you should be job ready with a high school diploma.
Read? Because they're not interested in reading. If you give them something they're interested in, they would do it.
I think you're absolutely right. I was just giving you a hard time. Thank you, Cleo. Plano. Have y'all ever looked at the worst colleges in America? Because when I was at a previous radio station, the worst college in America that year was in my town, so I don't want to name names. I'll tell you off the air if you want to know, Garrett. But this college brought in kids, and only 9% of the incoming freshmen will graduate within 5 years. Not 4 years, 5 years. Only 9%. Most of them take out student loans and get some kind of financial aid. But the average, listen to this, don't wreck your car. The average ACT of an incoming freshman was 15. You only have to have a 17 to play football. So the average student at this college campus was dumber than the dumbest football player on the team by 2 points. That was the average, which means half of them are dumber than that. And what a scam that is. There's a whole bunch of people who don't even belong in college. You have no business being in college. Of course you're not going to make it out in 5 years. You're never going to make it out. Probably misspell book, 800-288-9227. But your tax money has been going to all these failed efforts, and it's all been for good intentions, we're told, but it's not helping. It's a complete, utter waste of resources, and it is crippling people, and we need to change it. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. Coming up next, we're going to get an update on immigration here. How do you like the idea of giving an illegal $1,000 stipend? Just here's $1,000 cash straight up, Jack, if he deports himself. I like it. I think I can talk you into it next. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Susha Modi is back on. He's an immigration expert, and there's a couple of big immigration topics I think you'll be interested in today. Number one, let's go through the less exciting one first here. Welcome back, Susha, by the way. Good to have you on the James Show again.
Thanks for having me back. It's an honor to be back.
Well, don't say it's an honor. I'm just a guy. But so we have a judge that has ruled against Trump's use of the Alien Deportation Act? What's it called? The one from the 1700s?
Yeah, it's an Alien Enemies Act.
Yeah, Alien Enemy. It just slipped my mind, and I didn't have my notes in front of me. So thank you already. And I think the justification on that was that it's supposed to be a wartime law, but we're not at wartime. How do you break this down for us, Susham?
That's exactly right. And you know, it's good that we've been talking about this because it sort of validates the reasoning that I was discussing earlier with you. But it is an old rule. It's from 1798, as you pointed out. Last time it was used, just as a recap, was World War II during the Japanese internment camps to swiftly deport people without any due process. And so the Trump administration, you know, tried to use it. We saw that the 200 individuals, mostly Venezuelans, being deported to El Salvador. And just recently, a few days ago, a district court judge in Texas, who was actually appointed by President Trump, I think around 2018, so the Trump appointee, had ruled just recently on the merit of the case, stating that the Alien Enemies Act could not be used in this instance. So it was illegal to use it. And so that's a huge thing because the previous rulings really dealt with limited issues like habeas, like the right to, you know, argue against your own detention and go to court. This is a ruling on the actual merits of it.
But it sounds so procedural here that, you know, everyone's calling for full due process for anyone who's going to get deported or sent back to their home country or pushed across the border. It seems almost impossible. So you mean to tell me that if a guy comes across the Rio Grande River, we pick him up, we have to give him a whole court case or a hearing, or what is owed to this guy? Because I think logic would dictate you just push him back across the river.
Well, in the scenario that you just gave, actually, there's a different rule.
Good.
So there's something called expedited removals. So if somebody crosses the border and they're caught, you know, recently, even under the Obama and Biden administrations, this rule was in place.
Yeah, because they would count those as deported if they turn people around at the border. And they were accused of padding their stats, but still, it existed.
Well, all the administrations have done that. So not just those two, but even the prior Trump administration and Bush administrations too. But those are actual removal orders. So they could just return them without a removal order. But the main thing that's done is called expedited removal orders, where you don't see a judge or anything if they're crossing the border and they don't have a fear of return, like they don't get that interview, they don't have a fear of return, then they could be quickly removed without seeing a judge. And they actually get a 5-year bar from re-entering the U.S. again. And then if they try to illegally re-enter again, then that is often a permanent bar. So let's say they even have U.S. citizen children or a future U.S. citizen wife, they probably will not be able to adjust in the future because of that illegal reentry after a prior order of removal. And that's been in the Immigration Nationality Act for a long time.
Does that give the Trump administration a legal avenue to work with? Because could he claim that these are expedited removals?
No, because generally those are restricted to within 100 miles of the border. Now, what the Trump administration did try to do before the Alien Enemies Act is expand that definition of expedited removal orders to try to quickly remove individuals. But even that can be limited to only like the last 2 years because it comes from a federal law. What the Trump administration was trying to do here with the Alien Enemies Act is dramatically expand that. So it's not limited in duration of time or geographical area of crossing the border. Just try to quickly remove individuals even just suspected of any gang, not convicted, just even suspected from an anonymous tip. And so that's what this judge ruled was illegal. And specifically what the judge found was, you know, that law from 1798, it dealt with wartime, as you correctly pointed out. And so the judge mentioned how this is not an invasion, and then specifically also how it's not against a nation or government. And so those are the main reasons why. There's a third issue that it could contradict what's called the Refugee Act of 1980 to not deport people who could get tortured or killed. but the judge didn't rule on the merits of that issue because of procedural reasons.
All right, the Trump administration announced a program that would give $1,000 to illegal immigrants who self-deport, along with covering their airfare or bus fare or whatever the transportation cost is out of here. Your thoughts on that, real quick?
Yeah, I mean that issue hasn't completely. I mean, it's brand new, as you currently pointed out. Whether there's a few issues with it. I mean, one. We'll see how that procedurally works out. I mean, how are you going to end up paying individuals to leave, and then how many people are actually going to take them up to voluntary self-deport? And there is another rule, which is part of the Immigration Nationality Act, called voluntary departure or voluntary return. So let's say you get put in deportation proceedings, and then you don't want to argue your case anymore, but you have like no criminal history. Often it's for those individuals. And they just want to leave, they could pay their own ticket, and a judge could order them to receive voluntary departure if the judge wants. And then they could pay their own ticket and leave. And the benefit to them is they don't get that 10-year removal order. Now, they might have other bars for overstaying, like unlawful presence, so they're not off the hook or anything. But they at least don't get the removal order bar against them. And so we've seen, a lot of voluntary departures just under that. In terms of getting paid, this is novel. This has not been done before, to my knowledge.
We'll have to see how it works out, and it'll give us something to talk about next time. Susha Modi, immigration expert on The James Show. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. I'm going to ask you, what do you think about giving illegals $1,000 kind of gift? They're calling it a stipend, and paying for their airfare, bus fare, train fare, whatever it is, to go home. You okay with that? I am. I'll explain next on The James Show. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hello, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Welcome back to the second hour of the big show. Trump administration has proposed something I find quite interesting here. Bill Melugin on Fox News this morning alerted me that we have a new program that would pay illegals to self-deport.
Good morning to you. So Fox News can report exclusively that DHS will announce today that they're going to start paying for the commercial flights of illegal aliens who self-deport from the U.S. And on top of that, they're going to pay them an additional $1,000 stipend once they're confirmed to have left the country. Now, DHS says doing this is going to be significantly cheaper for the American taxpayer. They tell us that right now it costs on average about $17,000 to arrest, detain, and deport someone. They say paying for self-deportations and the stipend will only cost about $4,500 per person. That's about 70% cheaper. Aliens are going to have to register to self-deport on the new CBP Home app to access that DHS financial assistance, as well as announce their intent to leave the country. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem tells Fox in part, quote, "If you are here illegally, self-deportation is the best, safest, and most cost-effective way to leave the United States."
All right, that's a great idea. I love that. I wouldn't mind if it was a little higher. Because we've tried self-deportation programs in the past, and it never works. If they're already here and they've got a great job, why would they go back to their third world country? Just because we asked them to? So there's always been a lack of incentive, and this is it. And if you're saying, well, we shouldn't be giving them any money. Well, if we deport them the standard way, where we go arrest them, detain them, and then deport them, it's much, much more expensive. So this is better. This might make it happen faster, too, without all those court cases and due process and all those problems. They all just instantly go away. In fact, I like this idea. I've always thought, with my capitalist pig mindset, I'm an Austrian economist, I always look at the incentive side first. And I would say, don't just give them $1,000. I don't mind if we give them a gift bag. Maybe we get a bunch of corporations to donate to it, or we can raise a bunch of money to it. But if you're an illegal and you're going to be deported, the idea that we were going to pay for your transportation was already baked in the cake. That's neither here nor there. But this idea, let's talk about that incentive, because let's make it easier on them. Let's entice them, because you would probably get more participation in the program if you made it nicer. Let's get them a gift bag. Like, how when we went to birthday parties when we were kids, they didn't have like a little gift bag that all the kids got, but now everyone gets a gift. It'll be like that, and it'll be stuff that's sort of related to going back to your home country. It could be like, I don't know, maybe some Adidas so you can keep walking when you get to the border or wherever you're at, or some hand sanitizer, maybe some snacks for the trip. Corn nuts, or Buc-ee's has really good trail mix options. Let's give them a little gift bag on the way out. Say, listen, we're not inhumane. We're not doing this out of any spite or any antipathy or racism. We want you to have a good time. We want you to have a good life. Just go have it back over in your country. Just go ahead and get out of here. Here's $1,000. Go. You like that? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Now, I like that if it works. If this is going to be a program where we try and people still don't show up for it, then maybe we need to up the incentive. Maybe it needs to be $10,000. Because, $17,000 is what it costs to deport them the standard way, where you go hunt them down, arrest them, detain them, put them through their little hearings, put them into different detention centers, and you got to feed them and give them medical care and all that goofy stuff. I think we might need to jack that up. Would you be okay with it being $10,000? What would you add to the goodie bag? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Meanwhile, this weekend, it didn't make big news, but it did make some news. Dallas Morning News had a nice little write-up on this. There was another protest Saturday against the Trump deportations. Now, they weren't specific to the deportations to everyone that they talked to, but that seemed to be like the people who organized it. That was their intent, and then I guess they all devolve into just anti-Trump stuff. But the thing that cracked me up is about 20 people showed up. 20 people? I got more than 20 people at the last James Show listener meet and greet. But 20 people, how does that even make the news? You had more people go see any band at any band hall all up and down Deep Ellum or uptown or downtown. Did they all get news? I mean, we had More than 20 people watch my daughter's soccer game. Did that make news this weekend? All right, so a couple of the organizers, a group called 99%, another group called Movimiento, which just means the movement. They were there. They got to talk to the Dallas Morning News. But a couple of key passages from the article that I think you're going to love. Organizer said on Instagram that Sunday's protest was for everyone who believes in justice, equality, and real change. Well, who the hell doesn't believe in justice and equality? And I'm not sure if you agree in real change, because this is real change. You want to continue the way it was for the last 20, 30 years, your entire life, basically, where you come across the border, and if you get across here, it's ollie oxen free. You get all kinds of free schooling and healthcare and whatever, and we're not going to make any great efforts to deport you. You can go ahead and get a job and live in the shadows, and we'll sort of accommodate that. We'll make you press 1 for English, 2 for Spanish, and no, this is change. You're not for change. You're for the status quo. And you're not for justice. People who broke the law being held accountable and having to live up to the punishment that's afforded to breaking that law in the law books. That's not justice. Being sent back to your home country is injustice. Not being able to stay here illegally is not justice. The heck are you people talking about? Do I got time to squeeze them? All right, we'll take calls on this coming up next. If you want to get in line, you'll be after Paul. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Your thoughts on $1,000 gift to people who self-deport. Coming up next on The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hello, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. If you're just joining us, we're having fun with this new program to pay illegals to self-deport.
Good morning to you. So Fox News can report exclusively that DHS will announce today that they're going to start paying for the commercial flights of illegal aliens who self-deport from the U.S. And on top of that, they're going to pay them an additional $1,000 stipend once they're confirmed to have left the country. Now, DHS says doing this is going to be significantly cheaper for the American taxpayer. They tell us that right now it costs on average about $17,000 to arrest, detain, and deport someone. They say paying for self-deportations and the stipend will only cost about $4,500 per person. That's about 70% cheaper. Aliens are going to have to register to self-deport on the new CBP Home app to access that DHS financial assistance, as well as announce their intent to leave the country. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem tells Fox in part, quote, "If you are here illegally, self-deportation is the best, safest, and most cost-effective way to leave the United States to avoid arrest."
Okay, so I like the idea. I think their head's in the right place. I think you're going to need a little more incentive than $1,000, because what do they get if they leave? They have to go to a third world country with $1,000, but what do they get if they stay? They get to stay in a first world country and probably make more than that every week. So I'm not sure if that's enough. I would be okay with $10,000. I would be okay, whatever it takes to get them to go. Right? We would save far more money than that, aside from just the cost of them leaving. Of course, then Smacky over here on YouTube says he would self-deport for $10,000. Yeah, I'm from, Mexico. That's the ticket. Let's go. Arriba. What would you do? 800-288-9227. Do you like the idea of paying illegals to self-deport? I would also like to give them a goodie bag, maybe. I was recommending maybe give them some Adidas, so they can keep walking when they get there. Maybe a little American flag. We could stick in some Buc-ee's corn nuts so they have something to snack on. Or I'm sorry, Buc-ee's trail mix, because I was stuck. I don't know. I'm really into this Buc-ee's trail mix thing. They got so many different ones, and I've gone through all of them, and I don't even know which one's my favorite. But that would be in there. I asked Bruce on the break, what would you put in their goodie bag? He said deodorant. I thought, whoa. Are you saying illegal immigrants smelled? I'm very offended by that. 800-288-9227. Paul, Bedford, you're on the James Show. What would you do?
Oh, okay. I have actually been sending direct messages to Kristi Noem, to Donald Trump, to Elon Musk, anybody who would listen, to give him $5,000 to get back home. One reason is we had a president who was basically inviting these people to risk their lives to come here. That's a shameful thing.
Yeah.
And I think we need to give them a little more. We need to give them $5,000 per person, maybe 15 up to a family, so they can reestablish their lives back where they belong.
Right. I think this will work if you get the number high enough. I really don't think $1,000 is high enough.
No, I don't think it is either. And we also need to give them we apologize because we created this situation that they're in. And then the faster they get on the app and do this, the faster they can get back in the queue to re-enter legally after a period of time.
Oh, that's fantasy now. There's like an 11-year waiting list if you're a non-skilled person to come into the United States from Mexico. If they self-deport, they're gone for good. The thing is they're working here and they're trying to save up enough money, because I've seen it happen. What they do is whenever they have enough money to live off comfortably for the rest of their life, they go back and never to return, and they take the money with them. So why don't we just go ahead and give them the money or a big chunk of that and tell them to go ahead and get the heck out of here?
Why not? All the money we're saving through Doge, or look, all these countries get money from the United States anyway. Just deduct that money it costs to get them back home.
Yeah, from the foreign aid. Right. We're giving
exactly.
You got all kinds of good ideas. Thank you there, Paul in Bedford. Appreciate you calling, sir.
All right. Good job.
This is Dean. Oh, he's going to say a compliment, and I cut him off. This is Dean in Fort Worth. You're on the James Show. What do you think about $1,000 bonus for self-deporters?
Yes, sir. Well, I think it's a great idea. I mean, I think it's awesome to give them an incentive to go. I think it would be a better option if we could stack a consequence on top of that. So, for example, as part of this incentive program, give the people a certain grace period. Okay, so you have 90 days to self-support. That'll give them time to kind of, plan things out, because obviously they're not going to do that last minute. After 90 days, I think the option for the incentive needs to go away, and they need to transition into a daily fine if they choose not to take advantage of it.
No. You can't do a fine. They don't pay fines. If you're looking for the disincentive or the carrot and stick approach, why not? If for everyone who comes here after this initial wave of deportations, if you're still here and we catch you, not only will we deport you, but you're going to sit in jail for 30 days before you get deported. And I mean, that will just, I don't want to say it'll ruin your life, but it'll be a big disincentive, because I never thought it was that much of a punishment to just deport people when they get caught here. And I think back way back, like when I first moved to Dallas from Bug Tussle, I lived in a not affluent apartment complex, and the two apartments that are across the walkway from me, both of them illegals, they were brothers. And one of the brothers got in a fist fight, so the cops came and arrested him. So I had to go downtown with the kids and try and get him out, but he was going to get deported. And they weren't too concerned about that, because they're going to deport him. They're going to drop him off in Nuevo Laredo. They'll wire him some money. He'll come back across the river, jump on a Greyhound. He'll be back here by Wednesday. And so so we have no real disincentive baked into the cake. So that's probably good thinking there, Dean.
Well, just an idea. Wanted to throw it out there.
Good stuff. Well, you added a lot. Appreciate it. That's Dean. Next, if you want to be next, 800-288-9227. We're going to talk to Kathy in Plano. You're on WBAP. What do you think about the incentive for self-deporters?
Yeah, I was thinking that they get more money if they do it sooner. So if they register to self-deport, like in the first month, they do get $10,000. And then if it's after that, it goes down to $5,000. And then, so the sooner they do it, they get more money, which would be more incentive.
That's a great idea. Why aren't you in charge?
Yeah. Just an idea.
Well, I'm glad we're all coming up with these ideas, because I have always rolled my eyes so hard at previous presidents and administrations that are like, well, we've got this app to where if you self-deport, then you're not going to get punished and it'll put you back in line to. Who would do that? Who would voluntarily? They got the sweet life up here. They left that country to come here for the lifestyle they're living now. You're going to have to give them some reason to jump through that hoop, and it's going to have to be monetary. It's going to have to be so big that they're willing to give up this sweet life that they have here illegally in America to go back home.
Right.
Yeah.
And if they don't, like they said, there's got to be a disincentive as well. Like no chance of coming back.
Well, they already don't have that chance of coming back, but I like your idea of the incentive declining as time goes along. Good stuff. 800-288-9227. If you have an idea for how we can incentivize self-deporters, Trump's proposing $1,000. I think it's going to have to be more, but I like the idea. We'll continue with that next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. We're talking about this proposal that was announced just this morning. There was a news release from Trump administration. Who was that? Kristi Noem, DHS, Department of Homeland Security. That's who it was. Department of Homeland Security said in their news release that if you use the app, the CBP Home app, tell the government you plan to return home, they will deprioritize you for detention and removal. They will pay for your travel cost and give you $1,000 on top of that. I love that idea. I think that might actually work if the incentive is a little bigger. All right, let's start at $1,000. And if it doesn't work, maybe we'll up it to $5,000 or even $10,000, whatever it takes to get them out of here. Because to do it the traditional way through the criminal process by, finding them, arresting them, detention, transportation, it's about $17,000 per illegal. So we'd still be coming out ahead. I don't even mind giving them a little gift bag on top of that. What do you think? 800-288-9227. This is Tony and Justin, or is this Justin and Tony? You're on WBAP. What do you think about this incentive plan?
Hey, this is Tony and Justin. Hey, I like it, but I've thought about it for a long time, and I'd prefer, instead of $1,000 US, I'd give them $500,000 in their currency. I'd just print up their currency for them, load it into a suitcase, and send them home with it.
I don't think we can counterfeit like that.
Well, I don't know if anybody would know about it. If their government had a problem with it, their government, I think, would do all they could to make sure that nobody came across our border anymore.
Well, they might start counterfeiting our currency. I like the idea. Let's just give them real pesos then. We don't have to invent a new crime on top of that to get them out of here. And look, $500,000 pesos is like $14 anyway. So who knows?
That's true.
Thank you very much, Tony and Justin. Thank you, sir. James and Snyder, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, this James and Snyder. Hey, first of all, I'd like to say we're going to just go completely broke if we got to deport all these white folks back to Britain, where they came from. There's way too many white folks, and when they came over on the Mayflower, they invaded everything. They killed everybody, put a whole genocide on an entire race of people, and now we're going to send them back with $1,000. How are we going to get you out of here? Are you going to leave for $1,000? And the last caller is the biggest idiot that I've ever heard talk about some dang illegal stuff. Look, here, let me just tell you like this, okay?
Okay.
I didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on me. This is the most racist outfit that I've ever seen, and the Trump version is the most racist that I've ever experienced. And I'm ashamed of you, and I'm ashamed of everyone who listens to this religiously. Get out of here. You deserve repentance. You deserve repentance. And I want to see y'all, please, Lord. I want to hear y'all ask for forgiveness, please.
All right. Well, on behalf of James and Snyder, I would like to apologize. My ancestors did immigrate here illegally. They overstayed their bounds. They didn't fill out the proper paperwork with the Native Americans. Some of them self-deported, but enough of us stayed that what did we do? Oh, yeah, we petitioned the home country for membership back into the Union. Then we broke off into our own country. He's making a joke there, but there's a kernel of truth in all that. What a great fake voice, too. When we ask, why are you so concerned about illegal immigration, James? What's the worst if you just have millions of people swarm into this place and they overwhelm the native population? How do you think we got Texas? How do you think we got California? Yeah, we know what happens. As soon as we outnumber the natives by like 10-1, all of a sudden we're back and we have a revolution. We kick out Santa Anna and we petition the mother country for annexation. I don't know. I don't know if he was in favor of the stipend, though. Kevin, North Richland Hills, you're on the James Show. What do you think?
Hey, I think paying the people to self-deport is idiocy.
Why is that?
They came here illegally,
mm-hmm.
and who is going to pay them that money? It's you and I.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how old you are. I'm 63. I'm retired, and I'm not paying for any of that. And this is if you were in another country and you were there illegally, say over in Europe or whatever, and your visa ran out, you'd be on a train or something out of that country.
So you don't like this program because you don't want to have to pay for it.
I think it's.
You can just say yes. It's not a trick question.
I think it's wrong.
Okay, so but it cost the taxpayer $17,000 to deport them without the incentive to actually go find them, make a list, round them up, detain them, and finally get them out of here. The average cost per deportee in the current system is $17,000. If we do it this way and they get on the app and they take even if they take the 1,000, we come out ahead. It's about $4,500. So even if we gave them $10,000, you as the taxpayer, Kevin, would still be coming out ahead in North Richland Hills.
I was a flight mechanic for North American Airlines, and there were deportees on a 757 that they took down to the border, and they were shackled and everything, and armed guards with M16s, and they boarded them on the bus. And the last guy looked back at the guard and he said, "I'll see you next week." Revolving door.
Yep. Well, we've heard a lot of that. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I guess aircraft mechanics do pretty good that he's retired at 63. Did you hear that? He's retired at 63? Oh, man. I'm ready to retire, and I turn 48 later this week. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Trump has proposed a $1,000 bonus for self-deporters, along with covering the cost of their transportation back to their home country. Will this work? Is this a good idea? Are you in favor of it? Are you against it? How much do you think it should be? Should we give them a gift bag to go along with it? So here's some lovely parting gifts. You get like some shake and bake chicken. What they used to put in the Price is Right departing gifts. It's the weirdest bag of stuff. Yes, here's some shoe polish. Here's some shake and bake. And here's Fabuloso, the purple one. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. We'll continue with the deportation topic after I get an update on the measles situation. Dr. Benjamin Newman, chief virologist over at Texas A&M, back on the James Show with us. Welcome back. And are we done with this thing yet?
Well, maybe getting there, but definitely not done. The numbers are flat, so they're not going up, but they're not going away. And the thing that's worrying is that places like Ashtabula County in Ohio, which is pretty close to where I grew up, you're getting in toward something like Amish country over there, and there's already a spike there. There are pockets of people that are vulnerable, and if this virus gets there, it can potentially be bad.
Well, I find the headlines can be easily misleading because it'll say, I think I saw a headline last week that said we're now over 600 measles cases in the outbreak. But you read in the article and only 4 people in Texas actively have it. They're just counting everyone that's had it over the last few months. So I don't even know what the real number is this week.
Yeah, and the lead time or lag time on those is pretty big. It's 3 to 4 weeks that they have to wait for all the numbers to come in. So I think we're probably undercounting, but also it may have burned its way through that particular Mennonite group, which is, I guess would make the numbers go down. But I know this particular strain has now been sequenced in a couple of other states. So it is spreading around, and it's still burning, but not burning here as much, maybe.
Okay. Anything we should be worried about here or doing different?
I don't know that we need to do anything different, but just, I don't know. If you're thinking about vaccinating, just think how much of the modern world and like our economy and everything is based on you being able to go to work and not being sick with like a brain swelling infection of measles. Yeah, that's a decent motivation, I think, that you don't often hear.
All right, well, good stuff. Thank you, Dr. Benjamin Newman from A&M, stopping by and updating us on the measles thing. I'll keep talking to you till we're out of this, all right?
Anytime.
Thank you, sir. Just a quick update there, let you know it's still there. It's just not as worrisome as when we were talking about it a month or two ago. We'll continue now with the Trump plan to give self-deporters a $1,000 check. Not just give them the money to go back to their country, not just covering the cost of travel, but $1,000 on top of that. And if you think that's crazy, why would we give them money? Because it would get them out of here, and it's cheaper than deporting them by force. 800-288-9227. This is Brian in Grand Prairie. You're on WBAP. What do you think about it?
Hey, James. Thanks. Thanks for taking my call. But I just think this is some kind of a Band-Aid. They're always talking, doing this with immigration and this with the immigration. Why don't they take that money and do actual immigration reform where we can get people coming here legally like we did in the early 1900s where we were building this country? And, with all the infrastructure that we have that is needing repair and, increasing. I see it around Texas. There's building going on everywhere where highways are years and years in construction. Why don't we get these immigrants coming into this country and putting them to work like we did to build all the great cities up in the Northeast?
I think that's a large part what's happening. I think a lot of the people that are working on these highways were not born here and are not legally allowed to be here if we do a little bit of digging. But, you talk about opening up more legal avenues. We allow more legal immigration into this country than any other country on earth. It's over 1 million now per year can come in legally. So we are pretty generous. There's no one who's more generous than we are. What do you think the number should be?
As many people that want to come here.
Okay, so you're just an open border guy.
After I got out of the service, I was living in Germany, and I applied over there and lived as a civilian in Germany for a year, working and making, being a profitable citizen when I lived there. What is the problem with doing the same thing here where we can have people working and making money?
We do that. We have a legal
but-
immigration system here. We don't have. Listen, here's the problem with open borders. If you have open borders, what happens if 100 million Pakistanis move here tomorrow, and 200 million Indian people move here tomorrow, and 100 million Bangladeshi people move here tomorrow, and all of a sudden we are quickly outnumbered with foreigners? This isn't America anymore. We've lost our country.
Well, we lost it when the English got off the Mayflower.
Yeah, the Indians lost it, right? So, would you like to repeat the mistake that the Indians made? Would you like to just cease to exist? Would you like to not have a nation anymore? That's exactly right.
Well, there was 500 nations here when the English got here, when Columbus got here. You know, Columbus
Agreed.
came from-
And you just
so-
and you just confirmed that allowing unfettered illegal immigration will wipe out your nation or wipe out 500 nations. You have 500 examples of why that's a bad idea.
and they are still here.
Yeah, but their nation isn't here. Right?
This is America.
Right? So if you open the border and you allow millions of illegals to come in, your nation goes away. Right?
But
Brian?
if they're
Brian?
if they're
That's a yes
if
or no.
they're legal, if they're legal, it'll still America.
No,
We're a melting pot
if
here in
there
this country.
the part about it being legal is so we can limit it. If a billion people from the other side of the planet came here tomorrow, even if it was legal, we would cease to exist.
Why is that?
Okay, what
assimilate.
Indian law were we breaking then?
What?
What do you mean? Why is that? We already established 500 nations were here before we came here illegally, and they got all wiped out because we swarmed and overwhelmed them. Right?
And we founded our Constitution on the Iroquois Confederation.
Yeah, you're just
Parts of our own
McFly. That's not. None of this is getting through, is it?
It is.
Okay, so Brian, let's try this again because I'm running out of time. If we allowed 1 billion immigrants to come here legally, would we still have the United States of America?
Yes.
Okay, so all those examples of all these other countries that got wiped out, that's just an anomaly, and the one exception will happen when we do what Brian from Grand Prairie wants to do.
Well, when we assimilate people into this country, that's how our laws are. They are going by our laws.
Yeah, that's the point,
have
Brian. You can't.
people want to come here and be
300 million people are not going to assimilate 1 billion people. 1 billion people will assimilate the 300 million. That's what we already established when we came and did the examples of us wiping out the Indians and coming here illegally. Didn't work out so good for the Indians, did it? Wouldn't work out so good for us, Brian. Oh, I got to go. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, happy Monday, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, let's go. All right, so a proposal that had been talked about before was actually pinned to paper, was put out this morning by the Department of Homeland Security. Trump administration is proposing a $1,000 bonus payment to illegals who self-deport. You get on the CBP Home app. You tell them to come pick you up. They'll cover your costs to go home and pay you $1,000. I like that. I like the fact that it's using an incentive. I think it's going to have to be higher than $1,000, but we're still coming out ahead. As it stands right now, the average deportation costs $17,000. If you go and you arrest them, you detain them, then you deport them. If they do it this way, the average cost is expected to be around $4,500. So even if we do give them $10,000, it's still cheaper than deporting them manually. And on top of that, wouldn't we see like a big drove of them leave? Doesn't that sound like something that would actually work? 800-288-9227. Mark, Dallas, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Trump recently introduced a $5,000 baby boom incentive, and every single person or every comment I read just laughed at the insignificance of that. So you got to ask yourself, who is this $1,000 meant to target? Which illegals are going to be like, oh, $1,000? That works for me. I don't see who's going to get on board with that. Like you already said, when I got my COVID bucks, I used it to paint my house. And sure enough, it was, a Mexican gentleman that came and did it. And that dude was completely booked that he wouldn't drive more than 30 miles from where he lived. So here's this guy had plenty of work and plenty of people working under him, making more than $1,000 a week.
Yeah.
So who you were targeting?
So who would take the $1,000? You're kind of making a point there. So the people who think $1,000 is enough to go home are probably people who are about to go home anyway. Because a lot of the illegals that I used to work with when I was like waiting tables and whatnot, they're gone now. They made a bunch of money. They took it. They went home. So I think if you're like 5 to 10 years of reaching your little monetary goal and going back to wherever you're from, if $1,000 gets you to that goal, we'd get those people. But that's not a whole lot. I agree with you, Mark. Also, if it's a lot of the people who are just going to go back anyway. I think they would say, well, if I'm going to go home anyway, might as well take the $1,000, because I agree with your sentiment that it's not worth uprooting your life and going back to a third world country and lowering your standard of living, because that $1,000 isn't going to last very long. So would it change your mind, Mark, if we bumped it up to $10,000?
No, I don't think it would. I think the only thing that's really going to help this is going after the companies who are hiring illegals and making them pay the $10,000 fine through felony tax evasion, if we could make that happen.
Yeah. See, the big problem with that is there has been this bipartisan behind the curtains aspect of illegal immigration where Democrats like it because it gives them the potential for new voters, and they happen to vote Team Blue. The Republicans, not like the little R Republicans, but the big donors, the rich ones, the Mitt Romneys, the people that own meatpacking plants or construction companies or, big home builders or the people that employ a lot of labor, they like them coming in because they like the cheap labor. And so there's just been this sort of screw job by party elites on both sides there. And I would really like to see what would happen if we did that, Mark. What if we do go after the people who are employing these guys? That would be super interesting to see.
Yeah, I was going to say another funny thing is with Kristi Noem's little ad, she's talking about how you'll never be able to come back. But so many people say, I'll be back next week. And it's like, okay, well, Trump's out in 4 years. So
I like that part too. It's like you're never going to come back
right now, and I'll come right back in 3 years. Like, what do I care? Or maybe I'll just ride it out until I get illegally deported and then come back when there's a new Democrat in office.
Yeah, I like the threat. You'll never be able to come back. Well, they're already not here illegally. That's like saying we're going to make drugs illegal so you'll never be able to get them again. Sure, that'll work. Thank you, Mark. Good stuff.
You got me fooled.
Right?
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Lynn and Rockwall, you're on WBAP. What do you think about incentivizing people to self-deport?
Well, I was just thinking, I don't think it's going to be a very good incentive because they don't get to take their stuff. So I actually had a couple ideas. Those who are hardworking, I think maybe they should be sponsored by their employer, pay double taxes, never are allowed to go on public assistance can't vote, but they can get on a list to be one of the first to go through legalizing, hardworking, because I see a lot of them.
Well, you just want to expand the worker visa program. We already have that. It's the worker visa program. You just want to expand an existing program.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, instead of incentivizing, like I said, they're not going to go without their stuff. So
why wouldn't they get
need
to take their
putting
stuff?
Signs up. Well, because they've got their stuff. I mean, they need to have signs everywhere around saying, self-deport and you can take your stuff. If not,
all right, define stuff,
you're
because
deported with nothing.
The illegals that I know that have gone back, they don't take like their mattress and bed frame and furniture with them. That just gets passed on to the next illegal who's going to replace them, at the job or family member.
All the ones I know in my neighborhood and stuff that you rent out, they all have new trucks. It's like, if we give you $1,000 and fly you home, you leave your truck. It's like, no, just load up your truck and head for the border and have a good day.
Hey, you can keep your truck. We'll just we'll cover the gas money. How about that?
There you go.
All right. Thank you, Lynn and Rockwall. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, we got to talk about the economy. Stocks actually looking a little mixed lately after doing 9 positive days in a row. I'll get you all caught up on the headlines that affect your money next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hello, homeowners. Well, we went through another round of storms. Got a lot of clouds out there. Some of you getting rained on right now. And if you need a new roof, have you ever tried getting a new roof before and you got to deal with the insurance company? Sometimes you get denied or you have to file a reclaim or you just get tied up in paperwork. That's really one of the biggest pains about the new roofing process. And Blue Ribbon Roofing can help you with that. James Parker here for Blue Ribbon Roofing. Let me read you another one of their 5-star reviews, one of their hundreds of 5-star reviews from Google. The title says, "You are rock stars." And this is just from April 16th. Jackie says, "Blue Ribbon Roofing are rock stars with the insurance claim process. My roof had been turned down until we called Blue Ribbon Roofing." Yeah, John told me about 8 of those stories the other day. Another one from Antonio, also in April. He says, "Blue Ribbon Roofing has done several jobs for our investment company. We buy property. John, Tish, and Trevor taught us how to get the insurance company to pay. We are only responsible for our deductible. Always the best quality and in budget." If you want that kind of magic happening for you, you're not too enthused about dealing with the insurance company, go to blueribbondfw.com. John, Tish, and Trevor will help you with that. blueribbondfw.com. If you mention you heard it on the James Show, if you do need a new roof, free ridge vent ventilation upgrade. blueribbondfw.com. Well, hey there. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I love this part of the show when we talk about the headlines that affect your money first. And these are the things that, some of this other stuff, you're not going to have to deal with the self-deportation app, are you? But you are going to have to deal with the inflation. You are going to have to deal with the stock market. You are going to have to deal with the economy. Vance Barse is back on. He's the financial strategist. Welcome back to the James Show. And, Wall Street didn't do so well today, but we had 9 straight positive days before that. Vance, are we done with the whole convulsions from the tariff shock?
That's an excellent looking question, and we're going to unpack that. The stock market has been behaving like North Texas weather in the spring. It was nice and sunny to start the day a couple weeks ago, and then we had, some hail and a couple tornadoes, and now we're back in San Diego again. So I think ultimately the optimism around the jobs report that came out last week, payrolls grew by 177,000 in April, above the 133,000 that economists had predicted. That was great news. China made some noise about coming back to the negotiation table. And I always tell folks that the bond market speaketh, but the stock market reacteth, and the stock market is reacting to some very good news.
Well, I keep seeing reports that China, without any big fanfare, is slowly changing some of their tariffs and saying the opposite in their media, but I am seeing reports on this side of the pond that they're backing off some of their tariffs. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah. Keep in mind, we are China's largest customer. Regardless of what we see in the headlines, we have a deeply symbiotic relationship. We purchase a lot of the items that they manufacture and ship, and they also own a ton of our debt. So the relationship is very close, regardless of how it's presented to the public. And I think that ultimately, when enough economic pain is felt on either side, it will force the hand to make some concessions and realign these strongly separated tariffs that China has relative to the U.S.
So I am also seeing reports that China's economy is teetering on the brink. They can't do without their biggest customer for very long. If we do get some favorable trade changes with China, how big of a boost would that be to us, Vance?
It really depends on the extent to which our consumption can help boost their GDP. A lot of it also has to do with monetary policy. And when I start talking about the Federal Reserve and monetary policy, all of a sudden everyone has a very low rate of interest in the conversation.
Right.
But
it's not a very sexy topic, Vance.
That's right. That's right. But here's Bob with the weather, right? It's really important that we understand the economic fundamentals in China relative to here. We are China's largest customer, and Trump is absolutely correct in that there has been a huge trade imbalance for going on 4 decades now. And he's simply trying to realign that economic separation so that we're not necessarily superior, but it's a little more of an even playing field. And I think that insofar as the stock market is concerned, when market participants see that there is a 90-day reprieve in which both nations can come to the table and arrive at some type of conclusion, that optimism is baked in, and it's simply more good news.
So going forward, when this tariff thing is over, I see nothing but runway for the economy. Am I too optimistic?
I don't think so. Now, for 13 years, today's investors got used to zero interest rates, because recall that when the Great Recession started, beginning in March of 2009, the Federal Reserve cut interest rates to zero, and interest rates largely remained at zero, concurrent with what is called quantitative easing, which is when the Federal Reserve and the Treasury create money to buy bonds and infuse liquidity into markets. During that window, we all got used to and conditioned to believe that when markets go down, we buy the dip. And that's what we have seen here on the retail investing side of things. And we're starting to see some economic data that says that despite the fact that the economy is structurally different after COVID, the base level of inflation, which historically has been 3%, is kind of right where we are. Growth is good. Jobs are good. The unemployment rate stood at 4.2%. So things are actually looking pretty optimistic.
All right. Sorry. All right, Vance Bars, thank you very much. You can find him online, Vance Bars, BARSE.com. He's got an office up in Prosper. And help us keep an eye on that economy, Vance. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Coming up next, we're going to be playing Dead or Alive. Today's edition is the Immigrant Edition. In honor of today's biggest topic, we're going to be playing for a $50 gift card. I'll tell you where and how you win it next. If you want to play, 800-288-9227. This is the easy game show where you just have to guess if 10 people are dead or alive. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Bob Lavelle, Home Marketing Services. Heard one of your spots this morning. And, you know, I think there's a little bit of inspiration you've had referring to parents who want to get their children into a home, whether they're living in your basement or they're just wasting time in an apartment. I think that's a great avenue to take because, you know, whatever incentivizes these people getting a home ownership, the sooner the better.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, James. Someone else heard the spot about the same thing probably last Thursday, Friday, and he called me, and he's a minister at a church over on the Fort Worth side, and he asked if I would come in and talk to his congregation and just explain the basics of what we do, how we do it, and so on. And at the end of our conversation, it came out that he had a 30-year-old son still living at home, and he mentioned his son's going to be at that meeting we're going to have. So maybe that message is getting through. People that know better, owning a house, building family equity, it's kind of an important thing. So I'm not sure if that minister really wanted his congregation helped, or was he really trying to help me get his son out of the house?
Well, you know, for me, don't be ashamed, people. For me, Miss Parker made it happen for me because we were just living in a duplex. I know. We were just living in duplexes and apartments or whatever, skirting around. And she's like, when are we going to get a house? I'm just going to make this happen. I'm just going to go out and pick out a house and you're going to pay for it. And if not for her, I might still be renting. So listen to Bob. When you're ready to make that step or push someone else out of the nest, 972-392-9595. 972-392-9595. You can go to blessyourheart.com or call Bob 972-392-9595. And thanks again, Bob.
Thank you, James.
Hey, well, hey there. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. We're going to be playing one of our game shows here for a $50 gift card for some local restaurants. Now, this is good at 3 different restaurants. Medea from Scratch, Flip's Patio Grill, or Winewood Grill and Bar. There's still there's one line left open if you want to play. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Let's play Dead or Alive. Hey there. Welcome, James Show listeners, to another edition of Dead or Alive. Today's edition is the Immigrant Edition. That's right. Everyone on the list today, I'm going to tell you who they are, what country they're from. All you have to guess is if they're dead or alive. Studio, calm down. Today on the line, $50 gift card, Medea from Scratch, Flip's Patio Grill, or Winewood Bar and Grill. Let's get it started here with John. This is John and Keller. Are you ready for Dead or Alive?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Gloria Estefan. She's from Cuba, but is she dead or alive?
Alive.
She is alive. Next, former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger. He's an immigrant from Germany. Is he dead or alive?
Dead.
Died in 2023. Beautiful actress Charlize Theron. She's from South Africa. Is she dead or alive?
Alive.
She is alive. 49 years old. I think I'm getting old. Mila Kunis. She was in That 70s Show, and then now she's Meg in Family Guy. Is she dead or alive?
Alive.
Yeah, should have said she was Meg in Family. Kind of gave it away. 41 years old. Eddie Van Halen. He's originally from Holland. Is he dead or alive?
Alive.
Eddie Van Halen died in 2020, sir. Hang on, John.
Okay.
Let's go to Chris in Fort Worth. You ready for Dead or Alive?
Absolutely.
Man, I got him on the Van Halen one. Natalie Portman. Her real name is Natalie Hirschlag. She's from Israel. Is she dead or alive?
She's alive.
She is alive. 43 years old. Arnold Schwarzenegger from Austria. Dead or alive?
Alive.
It's not a tumor. Alex Trebek, an immigrant from the great country of Canada. Dead or alive?
I'm going to go with dead.
Yeah, he just died a couple years ago. Audrey Hepburn, originally from Belgium. Is she dead or alive?
Dead.
Yes, been dead. Well, finally, Chris, we have Anthony Hopkins. He's from Wales. Is he dead or alive?
My man is alive.
He is alive. 87 years old. Well done. All right, Chris. How'd you know all that, Chris? You watch a lot of movies and stuff? Is that what's going on? You just have good memory.
Yes, I've been. Yes, I watch a lot of good movies.
All right. Thank you very much. Hang on, Chris. I'm going to put you on hold. Garrett will get you information. You're getting a $50 gift card, good for either Medea from Scratch, Flip's Patio Grill, or Winewood Grill and Bar. Thank you for everyone for playing along in your car. I'm James Parker. This has been Dead or Alive. All right, next, it's not a game show, but it is its own segment. It's called What the Heck Did Jasmine Say This Time?
Jasmine Crockett, queen of the liberal tea.
Bleach blonde, bad built butch body, Governor Hot Wheels, and he is a hot ass mess, honey.
Queen of the liberal tears.
Do y'all remember the viral video that happened, I think it was 2 years ago, about these two parties that got in a fight at a boat dock in Montgomery? And there was sort of like a racial angle to it, but it really got out of hand. People were getting chucked into the river. And the highlight of it was when some guy went to town with the folding chair, right? Some people consider that an embarrassing moment for the community. Some consider that a bragging point for the community. Like Jasmine, she's speaking at a commencement address.
There are people that are going to tell you that there is not a table in which there is a seat for you, but I am here to remind you of Montgomery and those folding chairs. Let me tell you that we know how to use a chair, whether we pulling it up or we doing something else with it. Let me be the first one to tell you that I know that y'all are ready to put your boots on the ground. That's your cue. There we go.
Just music cues, y'all. Just choreography. This is a college
There are people
graduation.
that are going to tell you.
That's a college graduation. She's bragging about smacking people with folding chairs, hitting her music cue. She has choreography. She got an honorary doctorate for that, too. That concludes today's edition of What the Heck Did Jasmine Say This Time?
Jasmine Crockett, queen of the liberal tea.
Bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Governor Hot Wheels. And he is a hot ass mess, honey.
Queen of the liberal tea.
Well, I hope she stays in office and gets reelected over and over and over. She's too good for this show. Just too much material there. Love it. All right, coming up next, there were some local elections this weekend. Only 8% of you went out and voted, but a bunch of you are going to have higher property taxes because of it. Find out if it's you next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. What was that? How'd the local elections play out? Will you have higher taxes? Well, the answer is yes for some people, but overall, it's hard to just say whether or not you liked an election that is this local and this decentralized. But I think overall, good result. Not great, but good. Number one, the thing that I was despising the most out of all the ballots in all the jurisdictions was this terrible, god-awful idea for a new Broadway musical theater in Frisco that was going to end up costing like $340 million. It was going to take $100 million from Prosper ISD that they had set aside to build their own theater and roll it into this other just terrible idea of a project. Plano already has a big theater that can do this. McKinney's in the process of building one right now. What do we need one between Plano and McKinney? We got to have a new Broadway acceptable theater like every 15 feet. So that got shot down. And oh man, I can't tell you how happy I am and how the voters of Frisco, there's some smart people out there. Because so many of these other jurisdictions, I understand if you're Salina and you're experiencing explosive growth and your schools can't keep up. But it's been my experience that about 90% of the bond proposals that I've seen proposed for any locality are just terrible ideas. We got to revitalize our downtown, or we've got to revamp this old theater. Stop. They're all just god-awful ideas, right? And it didn't take much. I know in the Dallas County municipal elections, it only attracted 8.4 of the 1.4 million registered voters. That is a low turnout. There's some dastardly stuff under that, too. Do you realize for the voters in Dallas County, in just the past 14 months, you have been asked to go to the polls 7 times? That there has been 7 elections for Dallas County voters in the last 10 months. And I don't think we're done. Isn't one of these going to be a runoff too? But that's how it happens. There will be like the spring election, and then there will be another runoff here in a few weeks, and then there will be a primary where you got to go, and then there will be the runoff in the November, or sometimes the November election has a runoff that happens in December. So sometimes you can get like 4 votes in a year, and that kind of seems like a lot. But in the last 14 months, 7 elections, that's ridiculous. To do it not just in an off year, but not even in November, to do it in the spring of an off year, don't you kind of think that they're intentionally getting a lower voter turnout? Because why would they want a lower voter turnout? Oh, that's right, because then it doesn't take that many lackeys and payoffs to steal elections, or to not even steal, to win elections, to get legit votes more so. You can tell they're doing this on purpose. I don't like it. It's ugly. And not all big cities do this. Houston has its elections on November of odd years. So does Atlanta, Boston, Cleveland, Detroit, New York, Pittsburgh. So does it result in a better turnout? Well, yeah, down in Houston, when they're about to have their election in November, because this is an odd year, it's 2025. Their last one in 2023, November of 2023, the Harris County voters turned out 17.4% of eligible voters compared to our 8.4%. So more than doubled our turnout. Yeah, they're doing this on purpose. We had big school bonds passed in Salina, Melissa, and Blue Ridge. Now, Salina swears, I don't know if I believe this, maybe I'll come back on a future James show and correct it, but the people in Salina swear that this will not raise your taxes any. Yeah, we're going to spend $1 billion in new schools. We're going to build 7 new campuses, but it's not going to raise your taxes. I'm skeptical, but that's what they say. I just can't tell you like how proud I am of Frisco, though. Because not only did they shoot down that terrible idea, they shot it down by a lot because it was on Proposition A and B. And A said, can we use proceeds of the sales and use tax to go to this project? It was voted down 40% to 60%. So a round of applause. It lost by 20 points. But on the new bond, Proposition B, the new bond that says $160 million for a city-owned theater for the arts project, it would actually end up costing everyone, when we put all the money together for this theater, $340 million. It was shot down by an even bigger margin. Oh, this warms my heart. I just swoon for you people in Frisco. I love you so hard. Only 33.3% of you voted for it. 64.6 voted against it. That just warms my heart. That just makes me so happy. I see so many cities just suffocating under existing bond debt that if they could go back and take it back, they would. And you really dodged a huge bullet with this, Frisco. And I'd like to say the James Show is what turned the tide here, but I doubt that. All right. Stick around, because come back. I should say stick around. We're about to be over. Come back tomorrow, because we're going to talk about this Alcatraz proposal. I want you to just mull this around in your head for a minute. What if we reopen Alcatraz? It's not that big of a footprint, but we made it a celebrity prison, and you could have tours there. So you could go to San Francisco, you could get on a little ferry, you go out to Alcatraz, and you could see Joe Exotic. You could see P. Diddy, well, whenever he's actually put away in prison for good. You could see R. Kelly. They don't all have to be like fun celebrities. You could maybe go see Jared from Subway, see if he's, keeping the weight off or whatever. But also, it gives you a chance to maybe put cameras all over the place and have like an amazing reality show, or maybe just some live stream that you can dip in on, and you could see if, R. Kelly and Joe Exotic are fighting in the yard again. Wouldn't that be great? So if you can think of celebrities you like to see in prison, come back to tomorrow's show and give me a call or send me an email. That's what we're going to do tomorrow. I just can't wait. All right, stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. I'm about to go put up the podcast, and you need to go listen to that too. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.